Welcome to Podcast Editing Basics with Audacity. This is part 3. I'm going to talk about importing and exporting. Before we can do that, let's review a little bit in the previous 2 parts of this series. In the first part, I talked about zooming and selecting. Those are sort of the fundamental things we need to know within Audacity. We can zoom into different parts of tracks, and then we can select parts of those tracks and affect them in different ways. In part 2, I talked about cutting and silencing, 2 key tools within our toolbox of editing non-linearly. So we can cut different audio by first selecting it and then affecting it using either the toolbar to cut, copy, or paste, using the keyboard shortcuts, or using the edit menu to do the same thing: cut, delete, copy, paste, or delete. And we know when we cut audio, we take it out, and when we paste audio or duplicate audio in a certain way, it adds to the track length. Within the previous video, I also talked about silencing audio. We can select some audio, and using the toolbar, we can silence audio selection. We can also finally use the edit menu to undo or redo certain actions. Let's finally extend what we know in this video. What we want to do in this video is talk about importing and exporting different audio. Well, some projects, especially podcasts, can have one track. That is certainly possible. However, most usually use multi-tracks within a single Audacity project. And that's the model we want to start to move to. So we want to do that by first talking about importing other audio. So within Audacity's File menu, File, Import, Audio, and it allows us to navigate our file system and select the file we want. For this video, I've pre-prepared part 2 audio, the audio I recorded from part 2 of this series, and I'm now going to open it or add it to this project. Now you will see this warning unless you've told it to stop showing you this warning within Audacity. This is important because it gives you some different importing methods. And you need to be made aware of what these mean, especially with audio projects that have the potential to grow very large. So, the first option, default option, is to make a copy of the files before editing. This is the safest approach. It ignores the current file, copies it, and will make edits on the new copy. This is the safest way to maintain backups of different files. However, know that you now will duplicate the file size. So if you start with an initial file that's 500 megabytes, you now will have a total of a gig of audio that you're now editing. Most computers have fairly large hard drives, and that's not much of a problem, but it's something to be made aware of, especially when dealing with multiple tracks. The fastest way is to read the files directly from the origin or directly from the original one. This is great deal faster because it's not making this extra backup and it's not making these extra copies of everything, so it can work faster. So you have a choice of either safer or faster. If you have the hard drive space, it is generally recommended to do the safer option. So that way you're making changes in one place and you have that original backup just in case something happens. If you don't care and you want to go ahead and choose one of these, you can also tell it to don't warn you in the future, and it will just accept that choice and move on. I'm going to go with the safer option and click OK. It's now added that to the current project, which, hey, looks very similar because I'm editing the same audio. But notice I now have 2 tracks. So I imported some audio. Now, Audacity supports a number of different file formats by default. Some of those include things like WAV, MP3, or OGG, some of the more common audio formats. I previously saved this file in WAV format, so now I've imported it and I've got 2 tracks. Well, the previous concepts we've learned in the last 2 videos also now apply with multiple tracks. For example, if I clicked somewhere in the second track and I zoomed in using the toolbar, it would zoom the entire project. And if I zoomed back out, I could do the same thing again. I could also select some audio from this track, cut it using the toolbar, select a place in the other track, and paste it in. Notice the length decreased in one track and increased in another. So the things we currently already know about cutting and silencing also apply across tracks in the same way. We can start to use those tools using multi-tracks within Audacity. So we've now cut some audio from one track and pasted it into the other track, and we could do the similar other options that we saw in the last one of duplicating or deleting as well. So these work just across tracks, because as far as Audacity is concerned, this is all just audio you're non-linearly editing. It doesn't really care as long as it understands the file. So say we've got this exactly the way we want. We've moved some stuff around, we've silenced whatever we want. We're perfect, we're good to go. So the other thing I want to talk about in this video is exporting. So we imported audio, we also want to export audio. So now that I've got everything set up the way I want, I'm going to go to File, Export, and then I choose the file format I want to export. I mentioned before that Audacity supports MP3, WAV, and OGG. 3 different common formats. If I select one of them, let's just say MP3, it will then give me some additional settings for MP3 files. I can choose the bitrate mode, the quality, the variable speed, and the channel mode. Generally, by default, Audacity picks good general settings for MP3 files. You can change these by changing the quality to something much bigger or something much smaller and fooling with these options. However, once you've got these straight and you've picked your file name that you want, in this case I'm just going to go with untitled, and you click save, it will also say, hey, your tracks will be mixed down and exported as one stereo file. I've got multiple stereo tracks. Now the difference between a stereo track and a mono track have to do with 2 different input channels. In a stereo track, it has both a left and a right, left at the top, right at the bottom, and notice I have 2 of these, left, right, and it says, hey, I'm going to combine all of these into a single stereo file, which is what we want anyway. Because we listen to audio, again, left to right, we don't listen to different tracks in different orders, we just listen to one whole track. We say, okay, that's fine, thanks for letting me know. Then it says, hey, do you want to put some metadata in this file? So you can put the artist name, the track title, the album title, the track number, the year, the genre, the comments, and also add more if you want. A number of different tags and their values for every one, load different templates. But generally, you can put some information in, and then finally, when you're done, click OK. It will export, which it did very quickly for us, and you now have an MP3 version of that file, and you exported it all out. Now say, actually, you know what? I want a WAV file of that. So File, Export, Export as WAV, which also has some options. You can select different types. I say, okay, I want a 16-bit. I'm just going to go with untitled for now. Click Save. It will say, hey, I'm going to combine these down into one stereo file. Again, one stereo file is fine. It says, hey, you want to stick some metadata into this? We have some options here. I'm going to click OK. And then it will export it out, which it did very quickly here, so fast we didn't even see it. So we can import different files into an Audacity project. Any audio files that Audacity can read, MP3, WAV, OGG, some other formats Audacity also supports. When we add those in, they get added as new tracks within our project. The same tools we've been using to edit, to silence, to move things around, also apply across tracks, so we can just use those to edit different things. Finally, we can export that project in a single stereo file by going to File, Export, choosing the format we want, changing the options we want, and then if we want, putting in some additional metadata, and finally, saving that file. So we can import and we can export now, adding new files as new tracks within a project, and exporting the entire project as a single file. Thanks for watching.